E3 2013. Right now it's time to talk some strategy, namely Total War Rome 2. I'm handing it over right now to my buddy Steve Butts.
Thanks, Naomi. We're here with Al Bickham from Creative Assembly. Al, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, pleasure.
So, I don't pull rank often at the office, right? But when I found out we were doing Rome Total War on the show, I said, I got to be there. I got to sit down and talk with these guys.
Yeah, we knew you were a big Total War fan, so.
I'm a huge fan of this game. So tell people what you're showing here at E3.
So at E3 here today, we're revealing the campaign map of Rome 2 for the first time. We're showing the entire scope of that map, how big it is, and we're showing off some of the new features in the map as well. We're also letting people get hands-on with one of the new battles as well, the Battle of the Nile. So it's Ptolemaic Egypt versus Rome in a battle to the death. So this is what you're seeing here is the campaign map for Rome 2. So here we're in North Africa, we're in Egypt itself, and we can see that we've got a general and an army based there. So now this is the entire scope of the Rome 2 campaign map. It's around 4 times the size of the campaign map in Shogun 2. So you know it's a pretty big development since Shogun 2. You know, whereas we had around 45 units out of the box with Shogun 2 for battlefield use, we have around 700 in Rome 2. So you know it's a lot bigger. We have this is showing off the new province system and some of the flora and fauna, some of the campaign map features.
Now tell us about some of the visual elements we're seeing. We're seeing camels, pyramids, forests.
Sure.
All that has real significance in the game world, right?
Well, it does, yeah. So you know, you'll see animals there. So the camels and the elephants you've pointed out there. Now these aren't just eye candy. They're kind of representative of the exotic units you'll be able to recruit in these territories. And the pyramids here are an example of one of the great wonders of the ancient world. So you know, you think Stonehenge, Hanged Gardens of Babylon, we've got all those things in there, and they're, again, not eye candy. They bring, if you own the province, if we conquered Alexandria there, for example, we'd own the province the pyramids are in. And this would give us a series of buffs provided by the pyramids, you know, that would help our rule. And also the campaign map really kind of evolves over time according to the impact you have on it. So what we're doing here is building a new construction slot in this city.
So the player can read the map and see how big a certain city is, what it might have in the way of
exactly. I
defensive
think if you're facing enemies on the map, you can kind of judge their industrial capacity or their military might by the size of the city that they're seeing there. So,
well, what's the fundamental proposition for the player? They play as the emperor of Rome or the ruler of one of the other powers, Egypt, Germany, Persia.
Exactly. So yeah, we have a bunch of different. So we have 9 different factions that you can play at the start of the game. With the pre-order, there's an extra 3, making 12. That's the 3 Greek states, including Sparta.
Right.
And the idea is you play as the leader of a house or a political group, or you know, a faction essentially. Whether that's one from the barbarian subculture, like here in Germania, the Swabi tribe. So we have several different subcultures. We have sort of Greco-Roman, which is, you know, Rome and ancient Carthage, and we have Eastern kingdoms as well, such as Parthia and Pontus. So you know, we have quite a range of play styles that the player can play from. And of course, it's Total War, it's about territorial conquest, it's about statecraft, it's about diplomacy and politics, which is one of our new systems.
But it's also about generalship on the battlefield, right?
Absolutely. So, you know, when armies clash on this map, you then dive into these spectacular real-time battles with tens of thousands of troops on them. And you know, our aim with that really is to provide some of the most spectacular scenes you've ever seen in an RTS.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, this game is obviously very historically accurate, but at some point fun has to be the rule of the day.
Of course,
so how do you draw that balance between what's real and what's authentic and what's just fun for the player?
So that's the word we use, actually. We use historical authenticity. That's our kind of watchword. So when it comes to the kind of gear a soldier might be wearing, you know, the shape of his sword, if it's a gladiator or something else, you know. So we ensure that we're as accurate as we can possibly be with that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's you know, it's a game in which the player has full agency over how his empire develops. So in many ways, it becomes counterfactual in the hands of the player. So you know, if you play as Rome, you needn't make all the moves that Rome made. You know, the possibility is there to do that, and you can follow history as closely as you wish, and you'll see some engagements similar to those in history. But you can do as you wish. You know, you can conquer any part of the world you really wish to. So.
Well, the appeal for somebody like me is being able to take a historical situation and see how it might have come out differently. Here we're looking at the Battle of the Nile, is it? Where Caesar faced down against Ptolemy in Egypt?
Right. Yeah.
So what's the situation here? The Egyptians are on the hill, the Romans are down there on the field?
Exactly that. So the Egyptians hold the hill. They've got the superior defensive position. They've got a slightly superior navy as well. Now, this is a hard uphill slog for the Romans. So what we'll see is the well-defended, well-dug-in Egyptians who have a range of very exotic units here. Ptolemaic Egypt was actually sort of Greek in base as well. So we see some, very Grecian units such as scythe chariots in here as well. So what the Romans are going to do is they're going to come up the hill. They're going to try and aim for the capture point at the top of the hill, and it's up to Egypt to stop them. We also have these balls you saw on the right here. These are kind of burning bales of hay wrapped around stones, which the Egyptians can light and roll down the hill. So, really strong fixed defences.
I have to say that the cinematic appeal of this always gets me. I'm just being right down there at sort of soldier's eye view of the battle,
Absolutely.
Getting right down in the thick of it. And with the additional animations and the new unit models, you've got much greater variety now. I love the first Rome, but there were a lot of twins walking around in the armies.
Of course.
That's not the case here.
Quintuplets even, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have a tremendous amount of variation in faces, in armor pieces, different helmets, different plumes for the helmets, and over every single model. And you'll see this especially with the Romans as well, because they wear a lot of heavy armor, a lot of chainmail, a lot of metal. You'll see different damage applied to those. And if I can just point out these guys here, this is the Egyptian flagship. This beautiful, sort of lordly ship which is being sent into battle, and it's a ramming ship. It's got a very hard prow. So what you're about to see here is this Roman ship here has already been damaged slightly by being rammed. So there we go. When we get a really heavy ship going in, you get this kind of crystal destruction will happen. So again, it really adds to that kind of cinematic nature. So
that really brought a smile to my face.
Yeah,
as horrific
good.
as that sounds. Well, I know you brought in naval battles into Empire and Shogun 2. This is the first time, though, where you have combined land and sea battles.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there's a number of ways you can approach this as a player. What you can do is you can choose to turn your artillery on your ships towards the land and try and oh, look at that. So I just have to point that out.
That's not good.
It's not good. And the important thing to note about, when you see those big kind of troops being blasted like that, they're being disrupted. They're not all being killed. So these weapons aren't necessarily OP. They're very disruptive. So you'll see that with the chariots here in just a second. We're using the unit camera to watch this up close here. So these guys are being knocked around like they're being knocked about by a slow power, but most of them get up again. Chariots, for example, are very front-loaded. They're brittle. They're hard-hitting but brittle.
I don't know that I would get up again. I don't know that I would get up again.
If you're a Roman, you would.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a choice.
So the troops' mood matters as well. It's not just the types of armor they have; it's their morale, how well you're protecting them, the way that they're led, the situations they're in.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So good generalship is important, and good use of your general is important. As any sort of total war player will know. But what's interesting with generals now is that rather than the sort of simple two-skill tree approach we had with Shogun, as generals level up, they can gain skills. Now we have a huge pool of skills which you can apply to your general. So you can apply up to 10 of these very specific generalship skills, which obviously alter and boost the fighting ability of the men underneath him. But what you can do is, instead of picking a whole bunch of skills, you can spend your upgrade points on upgrading individual skills you've already given him. So you can really focus him to be a very specific kind of general. If you fancy playing a really cavalry-heavy army, you can pick cavalry-specific skills for your general, really boost those up, really, and ignore all the kind of basic infantry or heavy infantry or light infantry or archery skills that are in there. So he can be a powerful commander of mounted troops, So in this way, you can really fashion the way you approach building your armies and using them on the battlefield. And the same with armies as well. We have a system where legions can now be issued with traditions as they level up, because armies as a whole can level up now, almost RPG character progression style. You can issue traditions to them. And these are kind of ongoing buffs to specific unit types and what those unit types can do. So there's a tremendous amount of customization that's now possible in both armies and generals to craft very personal, armies that are very personal to you and personal to your play style.
Where would you say this fits within the scope of battles you're offering? Is this a big battle for Rome 2? Is it a medium size? Is it small?
I'd say it's medium-large.
Right.
Yeah, medium-large. So I think if you're playing a campaign, if you're playing in the campaign and you reach sort of end game and you're facing incredibly large built-up cities such as Carthage or Rome or Alexandria, then you know, you're going to be playing some very, very, very large battles. But as ever with Total War, we start the player small. It's easy in.
Right.
You know, so we lead you in gently. So, and you know, for in the first go for a new player, it's not as complex as you might think.
Rome itself started as a little city, and look where it ended up, right?
And that's where we start the player.
So what's next for you? When can players expect to play this game?
So we're out September 3rd. So we're at that kind of crucial stage of polish at the moment. You know, tweaking systems, making sure everything's balanced, making sure everything plays well. We're doing a lot of play testing at the moment. So
September 3rd. Yeah, I think
September 3rd.
I may be getting sick that day. But we're going to be sure to check in with you, Al, as the game progresses from now until release.
Brilliant.
So for more on that and for all things E3, keep it locked to IGN. Back to you, Naomi.
Thanks for that, Steve. So what'd you say, strategy fans? Did that look like the game of show to you? Just let us know on Twitter with the hashtag E32013 at IGN. Up next, we have a look at World of Tanks on Xbox 360.